Sharon saved her supply chain from cyber risk and ended the office goat debate.
AT&T reporting a major data breach involving nearly all of its customers. The company saying today hackers downloaded phone and text records to a cloud platform that were made from May 1st to October 31st of 2022. Some more records from January 2nd of 2023 also involved. AT&T is saying that personal information like social security numbers and birthdays were not included. Neither was any of the content of the calls or texts of all their customers. The company says it's working with police to catch those responsible. At least one person has reportedly been arrested. Here with us now, Bob Kolasky, Senior Vice President for Critical Infrastructure at Exiger, a technology company that helps businesses, banks, and government agencies with risk and compliance. Bob, thanks for joining.
Great to be with you.
So AT&T says nearly all of its customers are affected. Cell phone, wireless customers, even those who are on landlines right now. First, can you give us a proper perspective of 100 million people, 2.5 million businesses? We hear those numbers, but give us some context there.
So what we're talking about is the metadata, something called metadata of the 100 million people there. And that means it's information about who you called, what numbers you called, who you were texting. And so you go back to 2022 and you have records that have been, purloined basically of what you've been doing. It isn't what you said, or nobody's listening to the phone calls, nobody's capturing, according to AT&T, nobody's capturing what was texted. But the fact that it happened, and that of course links to what locations you were at because some of the data was linked to cell towers, so you could tell locations where people were. So there's just a boatload of data that has been breached, and whoever was involved with this has access to. At an individual customer level, that may not be too concerning, but it's really concerning at a macro level.
Yeah, I think the large number of people that were hacked is the concerning part. AT&T says thieves took data from 2022, one day in 2023. Do we know exactly when the information was stolen? Because it was a few years ago.
It was, I think the dates you put up there were that's the best knowledge we have right now. What's interesting about this is part of this is known because AT&T had to report this to the Securities and Exchange Commission as a major cyber incident. And as far as I know, this is the first time that there was a waiver given to AT&T to have extra time to work with law enforcement before the notice of an incident was made public. And that waiver was based on national security concerns. So that does indicate that the federal government, the FBI, and AT&T think there's something worth looking at here from a national security perspective. Too early to know what that is, but these SEC rules have only been in place for about a few months, and now we're seeing a national security exception granted.
So going back to what AT&T said, hackers didn't get social security numbers or birthdays. You mentioned it's not like they were listening to our calls. So what information did those hackers get?
Again, it's sort of metadata. And the best way to think, they vacuumed up a lot of data. It's unclear why you would want to vacuum up all this data, except to sort of start to look for patterns, perhaps of certain things. What's going to be so important in the criminal investigation is trying to figure out what patterns a criminal would be looking for and trying to protect against that. Individuals lost some level of privacy in what happened. And when we're talking about AT&T, this is a breach against AT&T through one of AT&T's third parties, which demonstrates the importance. And this is something we do at Exiger a lot, of making sure that your third party, your supply chains are protected as part of your overall cybersecurity.
And Bob, I don't have to tell you, this comes after AT&T had to reset passwords for millions of customers in March after a data breach. I was one of them. I know a lot of people affected. We've seen Ticketmaster targeted, hospitals, healthcare systems, auto dealerships. Are hackers just getting better at this?
Cybercrime is getting more lucrative, I think, is one sense. And
Sure.
With some getting more lucrative, yeah, I think criminal gangs are getting better. And if this wasn't a criminal gang, if this was linked to nation state activities, nation states are investing in capability to get better at doing things through cyberspace. And so it's really important that cyber defenses, third-party supply chain defenses keep up with the hackers as they work on that, because we are seeing just this is becoming a more cyber attacks are becoming a more popular target, and particularly critical infrastructure, as you were just suggesting.
And Bob, very quickly, I'm running out of time. If AT&T customers are worried that they got hacked, what can they do?
I think it's communication with AT&T and ask AT&T to share information, follow this, but AT&T should be proactively communicate with the consumers what they know about hacks and anything that's recommended, credit monitoring, other sort of privacy protections. You should follow up on that.
Bob Kolasky, thanks for the insight, sir.
Thanks. Good to be with you.